My grandmother always said I was still sleeping, but the door had been locked for years, and no one had ever seen me come in. Every year at this time, I return. Her house is still the same, as if nothing has ever changed.
Grandma, I'm home!
I called out to her, hearing no reply. My grandmother must have been resting. On top of the cabinet, I saw a photo of my grandmother and me. Faded, as if taken a very long time ago, she sat with her back to me in the dark room. Only the light from the window casting on her back.
My dear Julia, she's just sleeping a bit longer. In the morning, she'll smile at Grandma like always.
Before I could fully grasp the bewilderment of her words, I heard a sound from the bedroom. I went to check. The room door was ajar, the wind blowing strongly. A pungent, unpleasant smell wafted out. I froze. There I was, lying on the bed, facing the wall, the bed sheets soaked with dried blood. Yet there was a faint breath. I looked in the mirror. I saw no reflection of myself. The corpse slowly turned its head. A cloudy white eyelid slowly opened, staring directly at me. I was speechless. On the wall, a trail of bloody handprints stretched from the door to the bed. Memories flooded back. The anger in my grandmother's eyes. My fall in the hallway. Hot blood ran down my hands. I struggled, but she only mumbled nonsensical words.
No, I'm not dead. I can't be dead.
From downstairs, I heard my grandmother's voice.
Are you still sleeping, dear? Grandma will make you something delicious.
I was stunned. So, my grandmother had never realized I was dead. Perhaps after that incident, she had become severely confused. The doorbell rang. Surprised, I stood in the hallway, looking towards the entrance. I gasped when I saw myself, dressed in identical clothes, walking into the house. Then I saw time flowing backward. Everything rewound like a broken tape. My room door closed again. The smell of blood vanished. The air was silent as a tomb. Everything will start again, as before, as if it had never stopped.
How long has it been since you last returned to your hometown? I recently went through a devastating return that left me scarred for the rest of my life. I am June, 27 years old. After a long time struggling to make a living in the city, I finally had the chance to visit my grandmother. As I approached her house, I saw a man in disheveled clothes hastily walking out from inside. I quickly approached and greeted him.
Hello, sir. Did you come to visit my grandmother?
The man hesitated and replied,
Who are you?
I smiled and responded,
I'm Mrs. Smith's granddaughter. I came to visit her today. Is she home?
The man stammered.
I don't know. I didn't see her inside.
Then he hurried away. I didn't think much of it and quickly entered the house, calling out, Grandma,
I'm home.
There was no response. I walked to the door, continuing to call,
Grandma, where are you?
I pushed open the door and stepped inside. The house was dark, with only a faint light seeping through the window. Furniture was scattered everywhere as if someone had rummaged through them. I rushed into my grandmother's room, only to be hit by a pungent metallic smell that made me dizzy. In a panic, I turned on the light and froze in shock. Dried bloodstains covered the floor. Terrified, my voice trembled as I shouted,
Grandma! Grandma!
Suddenly, a dog's barking came from the backyard. It was Tom. My heart pounded as I ran outside. Tom barked even louder when he saw me, scratching the ground furiously as if trying to tell me something. The soil beneath Tom's paws looked freshly dug. A chill ran down my spine. I hurriedly dug into the ground, my heart racing. Soon, my hands touched a black plastic bag. My hands trembled as I opened it, revealing a pair of frail, lifeless hands. I screamed in despair and collapsed onto the ground, tears streaming down my face. At that moment, Tom growled and barked fiercely behind me, his eyes fixed on something. I turned around and saw the man from earlier standing right behind me, gripping a sickle tightly in his hand. Terrified, I asked, Did you kill my grandmother?" The man snarled.
You and your grandmother are such a nuisance. Let me send you to reunite with her.
Panicked, I screamed.
Is anyone there? Help me!
I tried to run, but he quickly grabbed me and pushed me to the ground. With a cold voice, he said,
There's no one around. Don't waste your breath.
He raised the sickle and lunged at me, but suddenly, Tom bit his ankle hard, making him scream in pain. Seizing the opportunity, I got up and ran. But before I could get far, Tom's agonizing yelp echoed. Then everything went silent. I froze, trembling, and turned back. Tom's head lay lifeless on the ground, severed from his body. The man, limping, approached me, his blood-stained sickle still in hand. Panicked, I stepped back and tripped over a rock, falling hard onto the ground. Despite his injury, he moved quickly, closing the distance between us. Desperate, I grabbed the rock I had tripped over and threw it at him. The rock struck his forehead. He screamed in pain and staggered backward. I got up and ran toward the front of the house, where I saw two young men returning from work. I shouted at them.
Help me, please.
They turned around, startled, and rushed toward me with worried expressions. Just then, the man chased after me, raising his sickle high, ready to strike. The two young men quickly grabbed a bamboo stick from the roadside and rushed toward the man. One of the young men grabbed a bamboo stick from the roadside and swung it at the attacker's hand, knocking the sickle away. The other struck his leg, making him collapse. The man screamed in agony as they quickly restrained him and tied him up with a rope. We immediately called the police, who took him into custody. I was devastated to learn that he had broken into my grandmother's house to steal and then brutally murdered her, dismembering her body and burying it in the backyard. Even now, I still blame myself. If only I had returned home sooner, perhaps things wouldn't have ended this way.
I am John, 28 years old. I used to work at a small company, but due to structural changes, I had to find a new environment with better growth opportunities. However, not long after starting, I realized that the workload here was heavier than I had imagined. The overwhelming tasks often forced me to stay late into the night. Many nights, I would see a thin woman diligently mopping the hallway floor, but when I looked at my phone, the clock had already 0, and I wondered, was there still a cleaner working at this hour? Many times, I wanted to greet her, but every time I stepped out the door, she had vanished, as if she had never been there. She moved like a shadow, just a blink, and she disappeared, making it impossible to determine where she had gone. Again and again, the sight kept repeating itself. I couldn't help but wonder, something was not right. Or worse, something did not belong to this world. Curious, I decided to observe her more closely. When I stepped into the hallway, she was still there, bending down and carefully scrubbing each stain on the floor. I smiled and said,
Good evening, ma'am. Do I crawl to where you go? You're working late, aren't you?
She did not respond. She just silently wiped the glass, each stroke slow and deliberate, as if following an unconscious habit. I hesitated for a moment before continuing.
Have you worked here long? I just started, so I don't know many people yet.
She paused for a moment, tilting her head slightly backward, preventing me from seeing her face clearly. I took another step forward, and suddenly, the overhead lights flickered continuously. When the lights stabilized, she was gone. The hallway ahead of me was eerily silent. No trace, no sound, as if no one had ever stood there. A chill ran down my spine, but I forced myself to shake off the strange feeling. I quietly returned to work, though my mind kept replaying the question, where did she go? A while later, as I was absorbed in my work, I suddenly heard the sound of a cloth rubbing against glass. Out of reflex, I looked up, and my heart almost stopped when I saw the woman standing outside, silently cleaning, with a vacant expression. Suddenly, she stopped and stared straight at me, her pale face pressed against the glass, so close that I could see every faint blue vein beneath her tight, lifeless skin. I shivered, rubbed my eyes, and when I looked again, she was gone. Only a faint, wet handprint remained smudged on the glass. A cold chill spread through my entire body. Panicking, I hurriedly packed my things and rushed out. I ran toward the elevator, frantically pressing the button, my heart pounding. The elevator doors slid open, and I froze. Inside stood the same woman. Feeling uneasy, I hesitated before stepping in. Forcing a smile, I said,
Yo, are you working the night shift, ma'am?
I tried to start a conversation, but she remained silent. Only then did I notice her appearance more closely. She was frail, her complexion sickly pale, as if she had no life left in her. Suddenly, the elevator shook violently. The lights flickered rapidly, and then went out completely. He spoke very slowly. Panic surged through me as I quickly pulled out my phone to use as a flashlight. But the screen glitched, and then shut off. Out of nowhere, a cold, bony hand rested on my shoulder. I felt my flesh freeze at the touch. Slowly, I turned my head, each movement heavy and trembling. Before me, the woman's face emerged, deathly pale, with sunken, hollow eyes that sent a shiver down my spine. I screamed, trying to back away, but my back was already pressed against the freezing elevator wall. An overwhelming terror gripped me as she inched closer, her empty eyes staring deep into mine. Paralyzed by fear, I collapsed to the floor, hugging my knees, trembling uncontrollably. Just when I thought all hope was lost, the elevator doors suddenly opened, and a flashlight beam shone directly at me. A concerned male voice called out,
"Hey, are you okay?"
I looked up to see the building's security guard staring at me with worried eyes. I scrambled out of the elevator, collapsing onto the floor, my heart pounding wildly. Shaking, I asked him,
Did you see a cleaning lady here just now?
The security guard looked at me, puzzled.
Everyone has gone home already. It's just you here.
Horrified by his words, my heart pounded in my chest. Then, who was the woman in the elevator? The next morning, I recounted everything to a coworker. Fearfully, I said,
Last night I saw a cleaning lady outside our office.
After hearing my description of her appearance, my colleague immediately looked shocked. He whispered,
She used to be a janitor at the company. 2 months ago, she had a stroke and died right in that elevator.
Stunned by the horrifying truth, I never dared to work overtime alone in the office again. But one time, as I stepped into the elevator alone, I was stunned when I saw the reflection of the light on the glass door. Reflected in the metal doors, I saw a pale face with a distorted, eerie smile, staring right at me.
I almost lost my daughter when I entrusted her to someone who seemed to be a very good person. I am Ava, a single mother who had just moved to this small neighborhood with my 6-year-old daughter, Emily. My neighbor was a woman named Grace, an insurance saleswoman. She was very friendly and had a gentle smile. She often brought cakes and fruits to us as gifts. After some time living here, Grace and I became close. Seeing me struggle to juggle work and taking care of Emily, Grace offered to look after Emily for me. Grace shared that she had 2 children of her own, but they had both drowned when they were young. Being around Emily helped her cope with the grief of losing her children. For that reason, Grace advised me to buy insurance for Emily, just in case something happened. I didn't think much about it and agreed immediately. Because I trusted Grace so much, everything was fine until a few months later. That afternoon, I came home earlier than usual, but I didn't find Emily or Grace anywhere. Grace had left a note saying that she had taken Emily on a picnic by the lake on the outskirts of town. I called Grace several times, but no one answered. A sudden feeling of unease surged within me, as if something was about to happen. I rushed to drive out of town to search for them. The area around there was very desolate, nothing like a place where people would go for fun. Suddenly, I heard the sound of a child crying in the distance. I had a bad feeling and rushed towards the sound. What I saw before me was horrifying. Grace was holding my daughter's head and pushing it under the water.
Emily, are you okay? What the hell are you doing?
I was just playing with her. It's nothing serious.
I'm calling the police. You're going to prison.
After saying that, I quickly took Emily to the hospital and called 911. Later, Grace was arrested while packing her things to escape. At her house, the police found an insurance policy for Emily. But the beneficiary wasn't me. It was Grace. According to the investigation, Grace had a serious gambling addiction and was deep in debt. Using her knowledge of insurance law, she had planned to kill Emily to claim the compensation money. Once she ran out of money, she had schemed to harm Emily when she saw us move in. I shuddered when I heard this. I had no idea I had entrusted Emily to a monster in human disguise. As for Emily, after she woke up, she frequently had nightmares and would wake up in terror. I had to take Emily for psychological treatment for a long time. Since that incident, I spent more time with Emily, never daring to let her interact with strangers again.